Hey guys, what's going on? This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. Well guys, today we're going to take a look at the FN or FNH PS90 semi-automatic carbine or rifle. This is definitely one of my bucket list guns. It's one of my dream guns to own at some point. Now this particular carbine is on loan to me from Stan, the owner of SS Pond in Lexington, Nebraska. Now this is part of Stan's private collection, and I asked him a while ago if I could borrow this, and he said, sure, go ahead and take it out. Guys, do give SS Pond a call. They will take care of your firearms needs. They are located in Lexington, Nebraska, and they have got the best prices just about anywhere that you're going to find on firearms, so definitely give them a call because they do support the channel. Alright, so the FN PS90, what are we going to do today? Well, today we'll talk about the specifications, we'll talk about the general handling, I'm going to show you some range footage and just talk about the experience of firing this firearm, a little bit about the manual of arms, how do you actually run this thing. Really not that confusing, not that hard to use, but it does have a few surprises to it that are going to really differentiate it from other firearms that are out there. Okay, so the first thing we like to do with any kind of tabletop review is just make sure that the firearm is in fact unloaded. A little bit different with this kind of rifle because the way that it feeds. Go ahead and pull on the back lever, remove the magazine. This is an empty magazine just so you can see it. There are no rounds, okay? And just go ahead and pull back on the ambidextrous charge handle. I'm just checking right now, verifying that the chamber is empty, and it is. You can run it a few times if you want to. If there were any rounds, they would spit out of the bottom of the stock because this is a bullpup style rifle. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the specifications. Alright, so important information about this rifle. What do you need to know? Well, first of all, it's chambered in the 5.7 by 28 millimeter round or ammo or bullet. The operation is a closed bolt blowback system. Magazine capacity is 10 or 30 rounds, which is kind of interesting because I do have 3 50-round magazines that I took with me, so I don't know if it ships with used to ship with 50s and 30s now or what have you, but we do have the 50-round magazines here. The weight is 6.28 pounds. The barrel length is I believe it's 16.04 inches, just over the 16-inch marker. The stock color is matte black. The overall length is 26.23 inches. Thinking about SBR in one of these, I think that'd be an awesome decision if you can do that. The receiver, it's a bottom ejection port, alloy upper receiver, and barrel support. The stock itself is a synthetic thumbhole bullpup design. It does have the forward hand stop on it. It does have a molded in rear sling attachment point also. You got full ambidextrous charging handles, and as well as your safety, and that definitely is one of the bonuses to this rifle. You've got the enlarged trigger guard, the translucent polymer body for the magazine, which easily allows you to see how many rounds you happen to have left in that magazine. Now for the barrel itself, I believe it's made out of the proprietary machine gun steel, as FN calls it, for the barrel itself. Now there is a Picatinny rail attachment on the front. One thing I do need to do is move these washers to the other side. This Picatinny rail is actually available to you from another fellow YouTuber, so if you're interested in this rail, I will go ahead and put the contact information for it at the end of this video, and you can get one of these Picatinny rails. It allows you to mount a Crimson Trace laser and or light underneath the barrel in the proper position, which makes it easy to manipulate and gives you the perfect beam or projection for your laser. This is just a millet red dot up on the top. This is what we used to sight the rifle in when we were taking it out for just a few shots. And let's go ahead and just move through kind of a front to back on the different features of this rifle. Alright, just a little bit of a roundabout view. We do have a 13 Picatinny standard rail up on the top. You do have a built-in iron sight on the front. There's a little tiny peephole in the back, which we'll take a look at, which does let you use this as a backup iron sight. You might have a little trouble with an optic mounting it this high over the barrel. That is a possibility, so there's no guarantee the red dot that you're going to get will work with it. This one just happens to work, and we were able to sight it in successfully. There are some low mounts that mount inside this upper receiver. I've seen like a mini ACOG that's been mounted on the top of it in other videos that are out there. You got the ambidextrous charging handles. You have the identical charging handle on the other side. Again, translucent magazine. You got a nice thick trigger. We'll talk about pulling the trigger here in a second, what the experience is like. Your safety is set up as like a little bit of a knob, so whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you can easily flip between safe and fire. Now remember, this is the semi-automatic PS90. This is not the P90, which is the full automatic version. Removing the magazine is simple. You just pull back on this lever and you pop the magazine right out. Let's go ahead and show you the other side here. It's, again, virtually identical all the way around. Your spent casings do eject out of the bottom of the buttstock, and we'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. Now, I'm not going to do a disassembly in this video. If you want to see a cleaning video on this rifle, I do have a complete cleaning video you can check out on YouTube, and I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. And it is a very, very simple disassembly and cleaning. It's just that this one is fresh from the range and it's going to get spent powder all over the place if I crack it open and get into it, because it needs to be cleaned before it goes back to stand at the pawn shop. Alright, so let me just show you that bottom ejection port. It is kind of cool how it works. Okay, so what we're looking at here, guys, is the bottom of the stock. This is your ejection port for your spent casings. That's the bottom of the bullet right there. And I'll tell you, when you're firing it, the casings come out so fast you don't even realize they hit you until after they've already bounced off you. They do kind of bounce off the middle section of my chest, which was kind of interesting because I wasn't really expecting it at first. I forgot about that, so when I was shooting it, I thought maybe there was some shrapnel or something bouncing off the steel targets that I was shooting at, even though I was standing at least 50 yards away. And you do have a cool little dust cover here in the bottom that you can actuate, so if you want to seal it out, you can. I honestly have not tried it to see if it opens when you charge the firearm, so that's something that I can't verify. Try to get that in focus for you. Yeah, okay. So anyway, that is where the casings are going to come out of when you're actually using it. Let's talk a little bit about the ergonomics and handling of it here too. So one of the great features of this rifle, it's a very easy one-handed operation. You could tuck it into your shoulder if you had to, get a good grasp on it. You've got a real generous handle here that fits the hand well. You can pretty much get any kind of angle you want on it for a comfortable grip. You can just take your hand and you can hold it if you want to, or you can wrap your thumb around it and there's going to be room. Now you could have some crowding going on here if you have some gloves on, and you do have a hand stop here to prevent your hand from going in front of the barrel. Remember, the P90 might be running a much shorter barrel, or an SBR version will be running a shorter barrel, so you want to keep your hand obviously out of the front of the rifle. It does tuck nice and close to you. It's a very short overall length. Very similar in length to like an AR-15 pistol, if you've ever had one of those before. The weight of it is just, it's nice and centered right over your hands. It doesn't feel front heavy, it doesn't feel rear heavy, and it just kind of sits in the hands nicely. Got a nice high position for the red dot. You don't really have to do a lot of tucking or pulling to get a good spot. And to look at the peep sight, there's just a little tiny hole in the back here, and we'll see if we can get the camera to zoom in on it in just a little bit here, and you can see the front post sticking up, which you can adjust. When I did some just pre-shooting with it, it does shoot a little low and to the right. I didn't want to mess with the front post. I wanted to make sure it was just set up for the previous owner, but it is accurate. I was hitting a human-sized silhouette out at the range with no problems, and you can see that in the video footage when I was shooting. But overall, I mean, the feel of it is just great. In terms of recoil, there's just a light tap on your shoulder, very, very similar to a 22 semi-automatic rifle like a Ruger 1022, or if you've ever fired a 22 mag semi-auto. Just really not very simple. I mean, the first couple times I pulled the trigger, I was like, that's it. You know, you're expecting maybe a little more kick because it's just right there. The whole mechanism is right there on your shoulder, but you really don't feel it. Again, rail section, very nice to have that on there. It's going to be really, really hard for me to want to let this go. I'm telling you guys, if you SBR this thing, shorten up the barrel, and put a suppressor on it, this would be a wicked, awesome home defense weapon. Your effective range, I mean, I wouldn't want to take shots past, say, 50 yards. I'm sure out to 100 you would be okay, but you might start to look at a little bit of bullet drop at that point. We'll have to look at the ballistics themselves. But just a very light overall package, and what's cool about it, with the ambidextrous use and with the simple use, just about any member of the family that you would trust with a firearm could use this to defend the home if necessary. Okay, let's take a look at that peep sight and we'll see if we can get that to show up. If not, no big deal, we'll go ahead and move on. Okay guys, so you can see the little tiny peep on the back, and I can't really get the right angle, but there is a little front post there. If you look through the peep sight, you can actually see the post. And again, it does work great as a backup sight or an iron sight. I've seen in other videos you can also aim right here using these rear iron sights. Okay, these are also built in. Either way, you can look down this way and there's a front post down here on the receiver, and you can also use that as a backup iron sight if necessary. Now, I actually did not do that at the range. I kind of forgot that feature was on there, but you can see how they would line up. And you could actually use them if you had to, which is really cool. I don't know if that's maybe just kind of pre-calibrated for 50 yards, or if it's set for 75 yards, or maybe it's just effective between 25 and 50. It's just one of those things you'd have to try when you get out there. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the trigger itself, because that is kind of an interesting piece. Okay, so again, let's just go ahead and confirm that it is empty. Completely empty. All right, we know it's empty. When it comes to the trigger, when I first dry fired it a couple times, I thought to myself, this is one of the worst triggers I've ever felt in my entire life. Now, I'm not trying to offend any PS90 people, but it's like It's like squeezing like a vacuum cleaner on-off switch or something. It's real thick, it's real plasticky. It really reminds me of my laser tag rifle that I had in the 1980s. That white rifle with the stock on it had this thick plastic trigger, just the way that it fits in your hand. Maybe I'll try to show a picture of one of those so you can see what I'm talking about. But you got to understand, with the bullpup system, you've got these long trigger bars that go to the back where the bolt is that actuate the mechanism. So you're looking at a long, sometimes heavy trigger pull, and I don't know if there's any aftermarket triggers out there that you could get for this, or lighten bars or any kind of a mechanism, but after 150 rounds, you really do start to get a feel for it. So let's just do a quick dry fire. You just pull. I mean, it's just, it's hard to explain. When you're shooting it at the range, you feel a little bit of take up. There's some resistance and then it'll break. But when you just dry fire it, it just kind of feels like it's going to go whenever it wants, right? And again, part of it's that heavy bar. There's a lot of movement going on in the trigger itself. And so you pull. There's probably about maybe a little over a quarter inch of play, and then you hit that wall and it breaks. But it's not even noticeable when you're not running it at the range. But it's something you can get used to. And again, just that comfortable feeling of shooting it, it makes it an absolute joy to shoot at the range. Another quick angle on that trigger, so you can see how thick it is. And you just pull, a little bit of slide, and then pops. So not much to it, really. Okay, so let's talk about accuracy. What you're going to see here is a little bit of footage that I'm showing you from the range when I took it out, actually just yesterday. We ran two different kinds of ammunition through. We ran the American Eagle and we ran the FN ammunition. I believe the American Eagle ammunition's on the right side and the FN ammunition's on the left side, the left target. By the time I actually got around to shooting the FN branded ammunition, I was having a little bit of eye strain I was dealing with. I was getting a little bit tired. I'd actually been out there earlier shooting my rifle, getting my rifle sighted in. And by that point, my eyes are just, you know, I'm over 40 years old here and I've got contacts and stuff. And so it's about the best accuracy I could put on paper. Now, you're going to look at this accuracy and you're going to say, there is no way in heck you can pull off something like that. Well, let me explain something to you. I was benched, okay? I did have a blanket on the table when I was shooting. And the red dot, once it was sighted in, I mean, it just rested perfectly right on it. At 50 yards, the dot just covered it up. It was real simple with these high definition targets to put shots on paper like this. I think just about anybody can pull this off if they wanted to. Very low recoil. It was very easy to set up for my next shot. You know, I was able to just relax and just take a few shots without worrying about it. Standing, obviously, I would expect the accuracy to diminish unless you're really well versed in the firearm. So let's just talk about the ammunition real quick, you know, what to expect if you buy it. What is it? Get that out of the way there. Okay, so what we have here is your FN brand ammo. I'm not sure if it's manufactured by FN itself. I don't have the box for it, but I do have the ballistic information for you. It does fire at 2,034 feet per second. It does have 256 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. Okay, you are firing 40 grain Hornady VMAX polymer tip bullets that are on it. And I'll show you what this looks like up close. You can see it does run, I want to say it's between $20 and $25 a box online. Actually 20 to 30 is what I was seeing when I was looking around, and there's different grades of this ammunition out there that you can get. As for the armor piercing and this and that, I really didn't research much more of the ammunition other than just what's commonly found, say, at the local Cabela's that you might have nearby. Okay, so now the other ammunition we're going to talk about here is the American Eagle. It's also a 40 grain full metal jacket round. Or I take that back. These are the jacketed hollow points. No, they're full metal jacket. Okay, just a regular ball ammo. Okay, so again, another 40 grain round. Ballistics are nearly identical to the FN ammunition. Might be just a little bit of a difference in the energy, but the way that it's loaded, it's almost the same in order for the gun to function. So again, a pricey little round, but a very cool little round. The only problem is when you've got the 50 round magazines, you're going to go through the ammunition really quick, especially when you realize just how low recoil you're actually dealing with. Magazines themselves are really sweet. The rounds do load in. Here, we can load one for you and show you. All you have to do is just push the round in from the top, slide back. You see how the round there is going to rotate out of the way. It's going to go clockwise, slide your round back in, and you're all set to go. I had no trouble at all with the ammunition feeding through the rifle. Again, this is what a loaded magazine looks like. With this is probably close to 50 rounds. I think this is one box I had to put in here before I left. And magazines, I think they run about $40, $45 if I'm not mistaken when you buy them online. Again, just a very, very cool little rifle. Now, real quick, we'll just kind of talk about reloading. We're not going to show you how to reload, but just a little bit about it. I don't know if you can see it, but the PS90, it really does a number on the brass when it ejects it. It kind of bends the rim. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of got a straight line on it. And, you know, you could work with that, but I would say if you look around online, you can find some really good deals on reloading supplies for this. I've seen it, an entire kit, everything you need, primers, I think maybe short of powder, but primers, bullets, fresh brass. I'm seeing 250 rounds for $180. I think it was like Elite Ammo that carries that. So you can get reloading supplies and get set up for it if you want to. I'm not sure if it comes with the dies or not. I believe it does. And so you're going to get the whole setup that you need to make it work. All right, let's just have a few final comments and we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Okay, so now comes the argument. Should you buy one? Well, first of all, if you got $1,500 sitting around, absolutely go get one. They are fun guns to shoot. They're awesome. They're just very, very cool. Keep in mind, we're talking about 50 cents a round, but if you got the money sitting around to buy one of these, you can probably afford the ammunition for it. You know, the thing is, though, you could get yourself set up with a SBR suppressed, say, 300 Blackout AR-15 pistol for about half the price of this PS90, okay? I'm just trying to say value equation for home defense and so on, or depending on what kind of purpose you want. I know it's kind of an apples to oranges comparison, but you know, you could set yourself up for something really nice for a personal defense weapon or something that's effective out to 50 yards or more, okay, for less money. But if you got the money for one, or if you have a chance to take one to the range or a chance to rent one, do, just to have the experience. It is absolutely a joy to shoot. All right, guys, so that is it. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope you liked what you saw. Please like or subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on gunchannels.com. I got a podcast called Caliber Corner that we do every single week. It's Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. You can also find me on Gunstreamer as well as YouTube, and the name of my channels are Travis P11. Oh yes, don't forget, guys, we've also got GunTube.org. That is going to be the future of firearms media, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, guys, Stan, I want to thank you again for loaning me this PS90. I got a bunch of videos that are going to be coming out on this rifle. We've got the range test. We've also got the cleaning video on it, and also a video on what to do if you want to order one of those rails. I'll go ahead and put a comment down below where you can check and see if you're interested in ordering the rail. There's also a shorter version you can get for the SBR version of the rifle, and you can get yourself all set up. So law enforcement agencies, you have an opportunity to kind of expand the flexibility of your P90 or PS90 depending on what your department's running. All right, guys, so that's it. Thanks for joining us today. Please like or subscribe. And as always, guys, I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. And as you know, we will talk to you soon. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.